What's going on, guys? It's Onion Rings, and I'm back with another Gears of War 4 video for you guys. And this one is going to be a barrier tips and tricks guide. I'm going to show you some cool ways to place barriers and get the most effectiveness out of your barriers so that you're not wasting your money on barriers that you're just putting in places that aren't very useful or just aren't being very effective. And before we get started, I want to recommend that if you're playing the engineer, don't go for the discount. I would go for the health. You'd think that the discount would be good, but think of it this way. You need to spend money to upgrade your fabricator. If you're getting a discount, sure, you're saving money at that time, but all you're really doing is making it take even longer to upgrade your fabricator. Yeah, you're getting more barriers or turrets or whatever the discount is for. We'll just keep it barriers for this episode. You're getting more barriers for a cheaper price, so you can put more around the map. But then when the time comes that you need to upgrade your fabricator, then what are you going to spend your money on? Say you've already got as many barriers as you want. Maybe you don't need any more. It's useless to buy more. Then you've got to buy other stuff, and that's fine. There are other things that are useful. You might want sentries and turrets. But my point is, the discount isn't as good as you'd think it is. It does help, but I would focus on the health. And another reason I say you should focus on the health instead of the discount is because you only get 5 card slots at level 10, and I recommend out of all of those slots that you take the repair boost, so the efficiency for number 1, number 2 is turret health, number 3 is decoy health, number 4 is barrier health, and number 5, I forgot which one I suggested. Oh yeah, turret discount. I normally don't say to use discounts, but in that situation, turret discount could be useful. Or maybe if you're playing with a heavy friend, you might want to take that 5th card as the weapon locker discount, so you can build more weapon lockers for the heavy to stash his salvos on and stuff. But my point is, the health is more important, especially in the harder difficulties, than it is discounts. What's the point in buying cheaper items when they're just going to get broken really quickly, you know? So for the purpose of this video, I do have the discount on just so I can make more barriers cheaper while I'm recording. I'm at like level 4 right now or something. I'm just in a private casual match by myself just so I can record this for you guys. I'll try not to die while I'm recording it, but I can't like pause the waves. They're just going to keep coming. But right now I have enough to buy like 3. So first we're going to start off with good places to place barriers. Now normally you would think, okay, just stick it in a doorway like this, right? Because then that stops the enemy from getting through. But if you put it just a little bit outside of the doorway, not only are you stopping the doorway, but then you're extending it a little bit more, and you're using up maximum percentage of the barrier. So now if the enemy comes out and they take a right, they're gonna still be stuck in this trap. Kill that guy before he kills me for the purpose of the video. And there are other much more uses for this. I can give you some other examples. Let me find some new spots on the map and I'll try to give you some examples, but that's one right there. It's basically a way to just like extend it, make the spike trap more useful, because if you just put it in the doorway, you're not getting 100% use out of it. Now another place you can put them, I'll show you, is by cover. So say you want to block off this right here. You want to block this off so nobody can get through. Well, instead of putting it there, put it up here. Because not only are you blocking the path in, but you're putting it here, so if any enemies take cover here, they can't. They're going to take damage and they're not going to be able to. And if it's a laser, they're just going to bounce right off of it. They're not going to be able to take cover there, and they won't be able to mount over and kick you and then execute you because they can't get through due to the wire. So that's another good place to put barriers. And then also, again, instead of putting it right here, you can put it right there. Oops. It's going to be a little bit hard to record this in the middle of a wave, but instead of like putting it here to block that, you can move it up a little bit, block that. Or some people like to block off right here. Again, instead of putting it in the doorway, just move it this way a little bit and extend it. That way nobody can take cover here. They'll take damage if they do. Me and my one team, I played with some randos. We had this whole side of the map secured. We had barriers and sentries everywhere. You can put one right there, which will again make it so they can't take cover on that car right there. Alright, we're back. I killed that wave of enemies. As I was saying, there's plenty of places to place barriers. Just think creatively. Another tip I want to give you guys is stacking. In the early waves, these little spike traps sometimes don't always work as well, so a little tip I can give you is stack them. Don't be afraid to do this. You can stack, and there are really good places that you can stack them. You just have to find them. Now, I will warn you, if you go to stack a barrier, keep in mind this is going to make it a little bit harder to repair it, especially if you're putting them right on top of each other like that. So what you might want to do is space it just a little bit. Move them just a little bit apart from each other. Let me try to grab these ones. So you just put it a little bit on top of each other, but not like completely, so that way you can still target it and repair them all separately. And that's a good way to get more effectiveness out of your barriers. Watch, we'll let this big robot step into them. He's going to hit the first one. Eventually he's going to get through it, so he hits the second one. Now he's going to hit the third one. And he's just eventually going to just take a lot of damage. And he'll just eventually either die or just he'll get out of it. Let's watch him. He took so much damage he's in self-destruct mode now. That's how effective it is to stack your barriers. And of course it works more effectively with barbed wires, but I wouldn't do it with the blue lasers or red lasers. That's not needed because they don't let enemies through them until they break. They completely block out enemies, so you won't need to stack those. Only worry about stacking the weaker barriers. Now another trick I'm going to show you, I'll show you as soon as I clear out this wave, so I will be right back. My other tip I wanted to show you guys was where, say you want to put a barrier somewhere that doesn't quite reach. Let's say, for example, here, and maybe you want to reach to that fence. Well, don't think that you need to connect the barriers to anything. The barriers can be placed anywhere, literally in the open. So what you can do is take the barriers and just put them next to each other like this. Stack them up. You can make walls out of them, which works even better with the blue and red lasers. But you can take them and you can literally put them wherever you want. If the ground is uneven, you'll see sometimes it doesn't want to cooperate. This is just annoying. It's not something that can be fixed. There's no way around it. You just gotta try to place it to wherever you can to get that wall made. But now you see you've got yourself like a little wall. That can be useful for, I'm not sure what you would want a wall for, but it is definitely helpful. And then the next thing I want to show you, I'll show you really quick. So let me clear out a couple of these enemies, and I'll be right back. Okay, I died pretty hardcore right there, so that was my money I dropped. The next thing I want to show you is how to basically keep people from mantling over stuff and kicking you in the face, because it's not fun. It kind of ties in earlier with how I told you to place the barriers, right? You can even place barriers right in front of cover. Don't be afraid to do this. You can place it right there and the enemies won't be able to use the cover. They might use it, but it's going to hurt them and they're going to get flushed out of it quickly. If you're on the other side of it, they might still jump over and kick you in the face. I don't know. I haven't tested it completely, but it doesn't hurt to try it. It'll at least make them flush out of it, because if you haven't noticed, here, let's try it. Let's see if we can get this guy to come and take cover over here. Here he comes. Come on, take cover, buddy. Come here, come here, come here. Come on, come on. There, see, he's taking damage and he can't get in the cover, so he's forced to run around it, and then you can just take him out. So it's not a flawless method by any means, and I wouldn't necessarily 100% recommend you waste barriers putting them by all the cover, because then you're just going to have barriers everywhere. It's going to be a waste of money. But it is a good idea for some maps. There's one map in general, I forget the name of it. It's the one with the big yellow generator looking thing in the middle. And it has like the little fortress on the right side. In that map you can hold up in the one spawn where most people do. I'm sorry I don't know the name of the map, but you can hold up in the one spawn like most people do, where there's a crate on the left side, a crate on the right side, and a crate in the middle. And basically what you can do is put a barrier in front of the crate in the middle so the enemies can't take cover there and kick you in the face, because if they do, it's going to make it a lot harder for you to do anything successful, you know. Anyway, that about wraps it up for this video. I don't think I have any more advice than what I've already given. If I think of anything else, I'll update you guys. But for the most part, that's really all I can think of. To recap, Don't be afraid to stack barriers. Put them in odd places. You don't necessarily have to put them from one object to another. You can put them in wild places. You can make walls out of them. There are really all sorts of kind of weird, crazy things you can do with barriers. Don't be afraid to experiment. And if your teammates are yelling at you, like, oh, don't put the barrier there, that's a weird place, don't listen to them. You can put barriers wherever the hell you want. They work fine. The point is to just damage the enemies and slow them down, mainly to slow them down, at least for the first 2 tiers. They're not going to completely stop them, but it will slow them down so that you can pick them off and keep them from getting in your base too quickly. One last tip I could give you is the shocker tracker ball things. Do not let them attack your barrier. Sometimes they'll just run into the barrier, take enough damage and explode, but other times they'll come and they'll attack it from the side. They'll just sit here at the side and they'll open up their shell and spin around really quickly, damaging the barrier very fast. They'll do this with decoys and other objects as well. Do not let this happen. Kill the tracker and keep your stuff from getting destroyed. That's about it, guys. That's all I can think of. Like I said, if you have any other questions or want some more tips and tricks, feel free to ask. This idea came from a viewer in my live stream today, so shout out to that person for stepping up and not being afraid to ask me for help. Don't be afraid to ask me for help, guys. If you want to know something, feel free. I'm a very nice guy. If I can make a video on it, I will by all means make a video on it for you guys. Anyway, I've been Onion Rings. I really hope this helped you guys. I'm out. Peace.